For the cone, there are also two ways to generate this geometry. One of them is a little more complicated than it really needs to be, but we're going to see it again for the tetrahedron, possibly the octahedrons, right triangular. Again, we'll save the obliques for later. Not real concerned with size, and I guess the takeaway from these different combinations is there are usually several ways to get your geometry created and started. So I forgot to save my cylinders, so I just did a real quick save as. Now I can close that. We'll either go back into the new part, file, or Control N. And I'm going to start on the front plane for the revolve. And we'll create our sketch. We're just going to, again, because we are revolving, I'll do this one without the center line. So I'm looking at those inference lines. We have yellow, and it's probably a little bit hard to see on the white background. The blue is a little bit easier. All right, so basically yellow is showing me where the horizontal, vertical locations are, and the blue is showing me where I'm lined up to the origin. So all these little visual clues are going to be something that we can utilize as we go along. All right, so if I make the base, because I don't have that center line, I don't get the diametral, and go to 1.5 for a 3-inch base and 5 inches for the top. So if it was going to fit inside of the previous cylinder or something to that effect, I would want to create those geometries. All right, so we have a revolve, no center line. It says I'm waiting for you to pick something. And again, as long as it's not self-intersecting, I can create those geometries as I go through the process. All right, and we'll have our first solid body for the cone. I'll hide that. And the little more complicated geometry is going to be the lofted boss base. So on the top plane, we're going to draw a base circle to get us started. And then I have a couple of options. Whoops, I rotated and I lost my perspective, so I'll go Control 7, use the scroll wheel mouse to zoom in and out a little bit. And we'll be back to the diameter, 3 inches. And then we're just going to accept that sketch. It's ready to go to the next geometry. For our feature then, I need a point located in space, and sometimes I'll draw a center line or an additional piece of geometry to help me out. In this case, I'll just create the plane to be parallel, and this is going to be our first exposure to the flyout. Right, so I need to select, but I don't want to switch back and forth. In the upper left corner, we're going to have this flyout list that I can go in and pick. Right, so I've got a top plane with a distance of, we were doing 5 inches. And it did not showing me the preview, or the preview is up a little further. Let's see what we get. There it goes. All right, so if I open up a sketch, this is one of the places where we will use a point. So if I were to put this point off to one side, the loft would generate sort of an oblique, but not really. It's going to be, it's not going to be a true cone at that point. So again, I'm going to accept the sketch, and the loft can have as many cross sections. Oops, got a little button happy there and opened up another sketch. So we'll discard the changes and exit. What I was looking to do was to hide. There we go. Right next to it, we're going to hide the plane so that we can see what the effect of that point in the circle are. So if I pre-select, I'm going to select Sketch 2 and select Sketch 3. If there were more intermediate cross sections, the loft would do its best to transition through each of those cross sections. So I go into the lofted boss base. We see a guide curve, and that is kind of the default guide curve. Nothing special with a circle. Becomes a little bit more important as we get into more complicated geometry. All right, so if I hadn't picked the Sketch 2 and Sketch 3 prior to going in the loft, I would do the flyout, pick, and the order isn't real critical here. So we go ahead and accept, and then we'll do the same thing. I will show the geometry. See what I did to the, oh, I went 6 inches. So that's why it looked a little bit different. That very quick view. So if I change the offset of the plane by double clicking on the plane and then on its value, again I will see the little stoplight, so I need to rebuild. And now when I highlight the loft and I highlight the revolve, I'll see similar geometry. All right, so these are objects that are occupying the same space. If I'm doing a mass properties or trying to get a center of mass, both of these items are participating in this geometry. So mass of 1.02 pounds, and if I were to suppress the loft and make it act as if it's not there, I can suppress and go to the mass properties. Now I'm at 5.1 pounds. Right, so division-wise, that would be about right. And if I were to reverse, then I would expect the other one to also weigh. So we're going to talk more about suppression states and display states as we go. Again, this is a lot of just new terminology. Start to process. Nothing that you have to worry about in the way of the lofts and the planes and this geometry at this point. We will work into it. And I will go ahead, and this will be the right cone, and save.